Okay, I hope you're all excited and looking forward to building our first website. And let me give you a small peek at how it will look eventually. It's going to be a website about going to the French Alps, and it will end up looking like this. This will be the home page. There will be a horizontal cycle with captions, and then the second page is about the trip. The third page, we will have a table of a schedule, but it's not included right here. And the last page will be a form that your friends have to fill, and then there will be Twitter and Facebook feeds. So let's hide this for now and go to the folder that I created. So you all have to create a folder. You call it what you want. I've called it French Alps, and I've included in it what has been provided for you as far as images and text, just so that all the work stays in the same place. So now when we create an index page and so forth, the CSS file, all of it should go in the same folder. Okay, let's begin. So I'm going to go to Overflow and hit on Text to find my Text Wrangler. Again, Text Wrangler is a text editor that is free downloadable for Macs. You can purchase TextMate or work from the ComArts labs. TextMate is available in the labs. And there you go. So I'm going to click on Text Wrangler and start with our website. Okay, this is an older file. Let me open a new file, and I will go ahead and start with doctype. Before proceeding, I want to save this so that we start seeing all the color. So let me go to my desktop and then basically find the file I'm looking for. Okay, so this is my area. I'm going to call it index.html. This is going to be the home page of our website. I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to increase the font size just so that we see better. Okay, so doctype HTML, which means this is HTML5, the 5th version of HTML. And the first element obviously is HTML. I open it and then I close it. The HTML element has two main children, the head element, so I need to indent because the head is the child of HTML, and then I close head. The second child is body, so I open the body element and I close the body element. Okay, so HTML is the first element. It nests the head element and the body element. What goes inside the head element is the title element, so I'm indenting. To indent, I'm hitting the tab key. Make sure not to hit the space bar, but the tab key once. Okay, so the title, and remember what goes in the title is what will show in the title bar. So let's call this Trip to the French Alps. Okay, the next child of the head element is the meta. Oops. And the meta element is self-closing, so we don't need to close the meta element right here. HTTP content type. We'll explain this now. Content is text, HTML. Oops. Semicolon character set UTF-8. So we're basically informing the browser that the type of content of this document is HTML as opposed to JavaScript or CSS, for example. And the character set that's being used is UTF-8 so that the browser recognizes fonts like the German O that has the two dots, or the French C that has a CD at the bottom, that is read as, that is pronounced as S as opposed to K, and so forth. So, and Chinese letters and all of that. Now, so this is it so far. Let's open this. Let's save this and drag index.html to the browser. I'm using Chrome. And this is my website. Obviously, it's empty. There's nothing there yet, but I have the title bar, trip to the French Alps, and that's what I typed in the title element. Okay, let's continue. So let's start filling the body element. I want to have an outmost container, and I want that to be in a div. So open the div element and close it. And let's give the div an ID container. Now, why am I giving the div an ID? I'm giving the div an ID because later in CSS I want to style this div. I want to do something to it. Maybe I want to color it a certain color. Maybe I want to center it on the page. Whatever. But I need to tell the browser that I'm talking about this particular div and not another one. That's why I'm referring to it as an ID, and I'm choosing the value container for it. So this div has a child. The first child is header. The header element, if you remember, is a block element, and I'm going to create a header with this header element. The header in turn nests an h1. If you remember, the h1 through h6 are the heading levels. So h1 is first heading level, second heading level, and so on. So h1, so it will be big and bold, a big title in bold. Who's joining me to the French Alps? And the second line will be an h2. So the second title will be smaller than the first title. I'm going anyway, so it's really up to you. Let's save this and refresh the page. You don't need to all the time drag index to your browser. You can go to your browser and refresh the page by clicking on this loading circle. It's not a loading circle, it's a reload circle, or just holding down the command key and clicking on the letter R. Okay, so this is what we have, and basically slowly we are starting to populate this website. Let's continue. Let's create our navigation. So after the header, I'm going to open the nav element and close the nav element. Every time you open an element, close it, unless it's a self-closing element like the image element. But make sure to close it because you will forget. So before doing anything else, just make sure you close an element. Indent and open the UL element. The UL stands for unordered list, so we're going to have a list of items without numbers, but they will appear in bullet points. The UL and the OL, the unordered list and the ordered list, have LIs. Oops. Let's close the LI on the same line just to have a nice syntax visually. And this first button is going to say back home. Now, before continuing, let's see how this looks. Again, save and refresh. So this is the first bullet of the unordered list. It's saying back home. Let's create the others. I'm just copying the LI with all the line, hitting enter and pasting it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So I have 4 buttons in total. The second should say about the trip, and the third should say what we'll do. The fourth one will say come with me. Okay, excellent. Save this and refresh, hitting Command R. Now, if we want these to actually go somewhere, what do we do to them? We want them to become buttons, okay? To make them buttons, we need to use the A element. So where does the A element go? Does it go here? No. Why? Because the A element is an inline element. Inline elements do not nest block elements. The Li is a block element. But block elements do nest inline elements. That's why the A goes inside. Oops, I need a capital A, a lowercase a. So A, you open the A element and you close it. Now, let's save this and see if anything happened. Nothing happened, okay? So this tells you that the A element on its own, without the href attribute, will not become a hyperlink, will not create a hyperlink. So the A element is needed to create a hyperlink, but without the href attribute, it does nothing. Href equals index.html. So element is A, space, the attribute is href, and the value goes between quotations. The value is the destination. We want the button back home to take us to the index.html page. Okay, let's do the same for the others. A element opens and closes here. Href, we want this button to take us to the page about.html, which we haven't created yet, but we will. The third one, oops, A, close the A, href, activities.html, again we'll create this page. And the fourth one, close the A, and this should say contact.html. Let's save this and refresh the page. I'm going to go back and hit R. Okay, excellent. So this is my website so far. I have H1, H2, I have a UL with 4 LIs. The LIs are basically, they nest the A element. The A element creates a hyperlink, and these are buttons that go or are supposed to go to the proper pages. This one is supposed to go to contact. The only reason why it says this web page is not found is because we haven't created the contact.html page. But if we click on back home, it stays on this page, which is where it's supposed to be.